From rare supercars that are tricky to get a hold of to classic racing cars from the 1950s, here are the most expensive cars worth millions. Number 12. John Lennon's Rolls-Royce. Yes, we're all familiar with the Beatles, and we all know they made a fortune from their songs. This allowed them to buy a 1965 Rolls-Royce Phantom, but they certainly weren't going to have just any ordinary paint job, and you better believe they made this thing look pretty psychedelic. The Rolls-Royce alone would be an honor to have in the first place considering its age, but just the simple fact that the Beatles drove this around makes it quite priceless. Okay, so maybe there is a price. About $2.2 million. Money can buy just about anything just about most of the time. It was to a wealthy Canadian businessman in 1985, so that price would be even higher in today's money. Who knows how much he could sell it for now? Although it looks pretty crazy, we're not sure if you want to risk driving this thing around, considering just a minor scratch in the paint could devalue it quite dramatically. You'd almost be too worried to take it out for a drive. Number 11. The Bugatti Chiron. Calling this thing a supercar is almost an understatement, and it's the fastest street-legal automobile on the market. The engineers at Bugatti will tell you that this thing goes from 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds and has a total horsepower of 1,479. It's been described as utterly extraordinary by MotorTrend.com, and you'll agree when you put all 12 cylinders to work. It's also been described as smoother and more refined than the Bugatti Veyron, according to some critics. The turbochargers will add a little extra sound to the roar of the engine. The top speed reaches 261 miles an hour. Like, you'd even need to go that fast on the highway, right? You better take this baby to the Autobahn to avoid any speeding tickets, that's for sure. Save up your lunch money, because this one's gonna cost you $3 million. Number 10. The Aston Martin Valkyrie. Some cars might make people's heads turn, but this car might make your eyeballs pop out of your head. The Aston Martin is known for their high-quality James Bond-style automobiles, but this is like something you've never seen before and looks like something straight out of a science fiction film. Here in this photo, you see the Aston Martin sitting on a wooden floor, and it's not even easy to tell what's the front and what's the back. You can imagine being at a car show and getting an up-close personal look at this thing. The car has been designed to be as aerodynamic as possible, and when the engine purrs, it might actually sound like a jet taking off. It almost reminds you of some of those crazy Hot Wheels toys you play with while growing up. The car is nearly finished, and the photos we see here are most likely to show people how the car will look once it's available for purchase. If you got the $3.2 million, you might actually be able to reserve one. It's estimated to have 1,130 horsepower and reach a max speed of 250 miles an hour. Number 9. The Lykan Hypersport, $3.4 million. The Lykan Hypersport is produced in the supercar capital of the world, Dubai Arab Emirates, and they even got some of these vehicles being used for police patrol. It might seem cool, but could you imagine being pulled over by this red, black, and white Lykan Hypersport that you see in this photo? It's the third most expensive production car at the moment and even has jewels embedded into the headlights containing LED blades with 420 diamonds. It's so fancy that it's even got gold stitching on the seats. It utilizes a 3.7-liter twin-turbocharged flat-six engine that's produced by Rough Automobile. This is able to produce 780 horsepower. The top speed reaches 245 miles an hour, which means you better avoid a high-speed pursuit in Dubai. It can go from 0 to 60 in only 2.8 seconds. The cars are typically limited in production, and the likelihood of you owning one isn't very good. In fact, only 7 have been produced and are most likely not for sale. The Prince of Monaco, Albert II, owns one. Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, a member of the royal family, also owns one. Number 8. James Bond Aston Martin. What better way to get the ladies than picking them up in James Bond's Aston Martin driven by Sean Connery? This DB5 would be expensive even if it was not in the film, but after appearing in the 1964 Goldfinger and the 1965 Thunderball, it sold for only $12,000 in 1969. That was a lot of money in that time, but only after a few decades go by, the James Bond films are becoming more legendary, and the car sold again for a grand total of $4.1 million at an auction. It still has some of the gadgets like the license plate changer and other things. Only problem is that it doesn't have cup holders. Number 7. The Lamborghini Veneno Roadster. The Veneno Roadster is possibly the most expensive car in the world and sells for a whopping $4.3 million US. That is, of course, if you can find one. The jaw-dropping limited edition doesn't even need a roof and was designed by the infamous Italian car makers Lamborghini. It also resembles more of a fighter jet than an actual car. It's fitted with an extremely powerful V12 engine and can go from 0 to 60 in just 2.9 seconds. It's made of a lightweight carbon fiber, which allows it to stay light and also reach a top speed of 220 miles an hour. This car was launched as a part of Lamborghini's 50th anniversary. Keep saving your lunch money if you want to get behind one of the wheels of these crazy cars. Number 6. The Koenigsegg CCXR Trevita. Considered to be the most expensive street-legal vehicle in the world, the Koenigsegg is literally coated in diamonds. The Swedish manufacturer developed a new exterior finish called the Diamond Dust Impregnated Resin, which is actually some seriously expensive paint. That's not all this baby's got. Under the hood, it sports a V8 dual supercharged engine that can put out 1,004 horsepower. Even if you do have the $4.8 million that it's worth, the chances are slim because only 3 were ever made. It also utilizes a biofuel made from ethanol, which allows it to be eco-friendly. Number 5. LaFerrari. When people own a Ferrari, they're normally making some kind of statement, but when you buy the best of Ferraris, you got yourself a loudspeaker saying how cool you are. This 6.3-liter V12 engine gives off 800 horsepower and reaches max speeds of 217 miles an hour. Even the 2015 version can accelerate in 2.4 seconds from 0 to 60 and is also considered to be among the top accelerators in its class. It's very possible that this thing could go even faster, with a quarter-mile speed timed in at 9.7 seconds. This is certainly one of the most expensive supercars out there, with a retail price of about $7 million. These are extremely rare, and only estimated 500 were ever created. Number 4. Mercedes Maybach Exelero. Mercedes-Benz are known for having some affordable vehicles, but unless you got $8 million in the bank, you most likely won't be able to get a hold of this expensive option. Maybach is a sub-brand of Mercedes, and they're known for their high-performance super vehicles such as this. The design was supposed to be a modern interpretation of race cars used in the 1930s. They were eventually unveiled in 2005 in Berlin, and if you adjusted that for inflation, it would have been worth about $10 million at that time. It's rather heavy and weighs in at 2 2/3 tons and can reach a max speed of 218 miles an hour. Its 0 to 60 time is a little bit slow compared to others on this list, in at 4.4 seconds. They're not quite as rare as some others on this list, but it's estimated that only about 3,000 were ever made. One of them was actually purchased by the rapper Birdman, but he was unable to make payments. Number 3. The Jaguar DType. Cars can certainly get more expensive as time goes by, and the Jaguar DType from the 1950s is certainly one of them. This Jag was specifically designed in order to win the 24-hour Le Mans race in France between 1954 to 1957. Aviation technology was integrated with automobile technology to make it as aerodynamic as possible. This photo here shows a winning automobile of 1957 Le Mans 24-hour race, and it was fitted with a blue metallic paint job. Back in the 1960s, no one had any idea how much they'd be worth in the future. People might have sold them for actually $3,000 to $5,000 in the 1960s. They all probably couldn't sleep at night when they found out that a Jaguar D-Type sold for $19.8 million at the Sotheby's auction house. Only about 87 of them were ever produced, so a pretty old and rare vehicle nonetheless. This gave birth to the Jaguar E-Type, which was a very popular car during the roaring 60s and 70s. One of them was even featured in Austin Powers, known as the Jaguar. Jaguar E-Types might still fetch a high price, but only a minuscule fraction of its older relative. Number 2. Aston Martin DBR1. There are some other Ferraris that are capable of making the top part of this list, but for a good variety, let's go ahead and check out this Aston Martin from 1956. If you thought that last one was worth a lot, wait until you hear this. The Aston Martin DBR1 set the record for the most expensive British-made car in August of 2007, where it sold for an astonishing $22.5 million. It has a few similarities as the Jaguar previously mentioned. It was designed with the intent of winning the 1959 Le Mans 24-hour race, which required some serious endurance not only from the car, but also from the driver. It's only one of a few cars to ever win both the World Sports Car Championship as well as Le Mans. Number 1. 1962 to 1963 Ferrari 250 GTO Berlinetta. Ferraris are already an expensive and rare car, but when you take a look at the Ferrari GTO 250, the rarest of all Ferraris, it almost seems like a non-existent unicorn with a V12 engine. These were only produced between 1962 to 1964, basically as a prototype car made for racing. Only 36 GTOs were produced during that time, with the majority of them being made in 1962. All of these cars still exist though. You better believe that this is one, if not the most expensive car out there. It's believed that the largest single car transaction took place in London for approximately $31.7 million. During an auction in 2014, it sold again for $38 million in California, making it the most expensive of all time. So what do you guys think of that video? Be sure to hit like, comment, and subscribe, and check out some more of our videos. We got hundreds of them.